this lesson, we're taking a look at Stick Season by Noah Kahan. Quite a few students have requested this one lately, so I thought I'd do a video on it. Obviously the original is played on acoustic guitar. I'm just demonstrating it on electric guitar for ease of recording, but of course feel free to play along using whatever guitar you've got. Now I'm going to be showing how the song was originally played, as well as offering some beginner alternatives so you can still enjoy jamming along if you're in the early stages of guitar. We're going to go into the details of the picking patterns and strumming patterns, and I'm going to explain those nice high-pitched overdubs that you hear on the record as well, so you've got the full arrangement. So let's dive in and take a look. So for the intro of the song, we're just sticking with an A chord, and we've got a little bit of finger picking with a pause at the end before the singing comes in. So I'm going to go into detail on the picking in a second, but it's just an A chord to start with. Then when the singing comes in, we're starting with the first verse, and we're basically starting this progression which remains the same for the whole song, apart from the odd variation, which I'm going to talk about in the structure section of the video. But that progression is an A chord. It's going to be 2 bars on each chord, followed by an E, followed by F sharp minor, followed by D major. So whether it's the finger picking or the strumming, it's the same length of time on each chord. And it always resolves to A. So it's your typical 1-5-6-4 axis progression in the key of A, so nothing too crazy going on in terms of the chord pattern. If you're in the beginner stages of guitar and that bar chord's really gonna throw you off and ruin your enjoyment of playing the song, then here are some alternative chords that you can use instead. We're gonna have the capo on the 2nd fret, and we're just gonna do our typical axis progression, but in the key of G rather than A. So we're gonna have a G major to start, followed by D, followed by E minor, and C. That's our 1-5-6-4 in the key of G, and if I strum along you can hear it instantly. Sounds like the original track. So you'd have no problem at all strumming along with those versions of the chords. If you're going to do the picking pattern, it's a little bit more tricky to make it sound like the original, because of course we're using different chord voicings now. What I would suggest is always make sure the thumb follows the root note. And for example, for the G, you might want to do the version of G where you're just fretting the bottom string. So you're using the open B in the picking pattern. And then for the D, you'd have to move the thumb to the D root note. Then for the E, it's going back to the bottom string. Then the A string for the C. So a few adaptations that you've got to make it match up, but just have a bit of a play around with it and see what you find comfortable. So if we take a look at the right hand now, the intro and first verse is going to be based around this picking pattern. So if we get into the nitty gritty of this, we're starting with thumb playing the root note on the A string. Thumb is then going to play the D string while your 2nd finger plays the B string. Then thumb's going back to the root. 1st finger is playing the G string, thumb is coming and playing the D string, and then 2nd finger is playing the B string. So that was thumb, thumb and middle finger, then thumb 1st, thumb 2nd. So you've just got to make sure that the thumb is moving to the root note and to the D string at the right time. In terms of the rhythm, we're going 1 and 2E and a 3 and 4E and a. So it's a half bar pattern, so we're going to be playing it 4 times on each chord to fulfill our 2 bars on each chord when we get into the verse. But for the intro, we're only playing it 3 times. So we've got 1 and 2E and a 3 and 4E and a 1 and 2E and a 3, and we just get one last little staccato note on that open A string. Once the verse kicks in, the picking is pretty much going to stay the same, but we're going to make sure the thumb follows the root note. So the A we've already done. For the E, thumb is going to start on the bottom string, but then everything that follows is going to remain the same. So thumb's still going to jump up to D string, then back to E. F sharp minor, exactly the same as the E, because the root is still on the bottom string. But the D is a little bit tricky, because we're only playing on the D, G and B strings, so thumb's actually going to go to the D string and then not move at all. So we're doubling up on the D string for this one. So it sounds like you're playing the D string quite a lot, but if you listen to the record, you can hear that that's what's going on. So if you put it all together, you should get that movement in the bass. A string to E string. Still on the E string for the F sharp minor. Then jumping up to D. But first and second finger are just doing the same thing the whole time. And just a quick note on changing chords, the A to the E isn't too bad, because you can just hit that open low E string. That gives you time to change the chord in the left hand. The F sharp is a little bit trickier, but you can use the open B string as a chance to move. So when second finger is picking the open B, your left hand can come off and make the shape of the F sharp minor and then go down as your thumb picks the bottom string. D is a little bit tricky again. You've got to hit the open D string. That gives you the root note of the last chord, and then that gives you a chance to put the chord in place to finish off the picking pattern. So you've just got to look for these little opportunities where you get a chance for an open string to help you move to the next chord. And finally, if we take a look at the strumming pattern, we've got this. So it's very similar to the rhythm of the picking pattern. We're going down, down, a silent down strum, then up, down, up. So down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up. It's really important that you put that silent down strum in to retain the feel of the song. And counting wise, we've got 1 and 2, E and 1 and 2, E and. So once you put that in with all the chords, we've got 1 and 2, E and 3 and 4, E and 1 and 2, E and 3 and 4, E and 1 and 2, E and 3 and 4, E and 1 and 2, E and 3 and 4. A bit quicker. Then full speed of the song. But it's just that pattern, down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up. And it also sounds pretty nice to put an accent on the second strum. So I'm doing small strum, big strum, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. Just adds a little bit more feel. Now the strumming comes in straight after the picking, but because the rhythms are so similar, it's not too difficult to transition. So just give it a go and see how you get on. So now we've got the techniques down, let's have a chat about the full song structure. So as I mentioned earlier, the intro is just on the A chord, and we're going to do a bar and a half of the picking on the A with a stop on beat 3 of the second bar. So 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 E and 1 and 2 E and 3. Little gap and then the vocals come in, and when the verse starts we're just doing our 2 bars of picking on each chord. So A to E, F F sharp minor, to D, then bring the strumming in. Now I'm just finger strumming at this point, but you could use a pick if you prefer. On the demo, I used a pick in the chorus just to big it up a bit, but just go with your preference. And at this point on the D, we're going to strum the first bar, then just a single strum and let it ring out on the last bar. I don't think I included that in the demo, but it depends which part of the song you're playing anyway. Sometimes he does it before the chorus, sometimes he just keeps strumming and then goes into the chorus. So yeah, just have a listen to the song and try and match it as best you can. Once we get into the chorus, we're just doing a single strum on each chord, but we're letting the 2 bars rest in between. So we're going A, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, E, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, F sharp minor, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, but then in the last bar of D, just introduce a little bit of strumming, just to build it back up, and then we're into normal strumming from the A again. Now on the second round of chords in the chorus, when we get to the end, we've got a little variation. We're going to do the F sharp minor, but then rather than 2 bars of D, we're going to have 1 bar of D, 1 bar of E, and then resolve to A. And just like the intro, we're going to strum for a bit, and then put that stop in, and then the vocals will reintroduce for the second verse, just like what happens at the start of the song. So just to run you through the whole chorus all in one go, we're starting with the single strums. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, E, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, F sharp minor, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, strumming, then A, to E, F sharp minor, and that little variation, D to E, resolve on A, and pause, then into verse 2, and the chords would just continue. From there onwards, it's just going to be a case of listening to the song and getting really used to all the little nuances. So when you've entered a chorus and you know you've got to add that extra E chord at the end, and also the other sections where there's just single strums on the chords, probably if you're planning to play it and sing along, you'll find this a little bit easier because you'll learn what words you've got to do single strums on and things like that. So that could definitely help. One more specific thing I want to mention though is that there is an extra bar of E at the very end of the final chorus, so just before the final resolution on the A chord, we've got extra bar of E, so just to show you what that would look like, this is the very final round of chords. We're going to strum the A, to the E, F sharp minor, then the D 1 bar, 2 bars of E, then resolve on the A. So just a little bit of a delayed resolution at the very end of the song, so you might want to include that just to match up perfectly, but mainly it's just going to be a case of jamming along and seeing where all the little changes are and then including them in your version. So that's how you decipher the structure, and now let's take a look at the overdubbed chords so you can layer those up if you want to as well. So for this upper layer of chords, we're just using high-pitched, caged shapes to add a bit of brightness to the track, starting with this one, which matches up with the A chord. So what I'm doing here is I've got the 3rd finger on the 11th fret of the D, 1st finger is fretting the 9th fret on the G, 2nd finger is 10th fret B, and 1st finger is also barring the 9th fret of the high E string. So we get this chord. Now if you're familiar with the cage system, you might recognise this as the upper part of the C shape. So if I pop the little finger down on the A root note on the 12th fret, that would be the full C shape, but you can include the root note if you want to, but there's no real need because we're mainly looking for them high notes. So that would be the 1st chord. The 2nd chord, we're going to keep the 1st finger barring the top 4 strings, so just make sure it's covering the D string as well. And the 3rd finger is just going to move to the 11th fret on the A string. Now technically this is going to be an E6 over G sharp, which sounds like a bit of a scary name, but it's not nothing to worry about really. The E6 part comes from barring the very top string, so if you imagine playing just a normal E major bar chord rooted on the 7th fret, if I lie the 3rd finger down really flat, I can also bar the top string. That would make it an E6. So we're keeping that barred E6 part of it, but we're putting the third of the chord on the bottom, so it's an inversion. So the third finger is playing the G sharp on the A string, and that's how we end up with an E6 over G sharp. But don't worry too much about it, it's just a nice version of the chord. Works great in the song. Next chord is going to be F sharp minor, just as you would expect it to be played. So first finger rooting on the 9th fret of the A string, and then just your normal minor bar chord shape. And then we're going to play a D major chord rooted on the 10th fret of the lower E string. So we can basically just take this shape and move it down one string and up one fret. That gives us our D major, and then we'd start again from the C shape A chord. So there's the A to the E6 over G sharp, F sharp minor, and D major. And one more time, the A to the E, the F sharp minor, and remember to match the high chords with the low chords. So sometimes you're going to be going D, back to E, and then the A. So just remember to adhere to the structure of the track, but that gives you the upper layer, so now you've got all the parts, so just try putting them all together and have a bit of fun with it. I hope you've enjoyed taking a look at this upbeat tune and you have fun playing and singing along. There's plenty more songs and guitar lessons on my channel, so feel free to check that out and subscribe for more. I'd really appreciate you giving the video a like if you found it helpful, and I'll see you for another lesson soon.